We're back with another deep dive. And this time, we're taking a closer look at something that's probably happened to all of us. Having our phone signal drop out at the worst possible moment.
Yeah, and what's even more frustrating is that most of us probably don't even understand how our phones measure signal strength in the first place.
That's where we come in. We're going to unpack a fascinating research paper all about LTE-RSRP and how this little-known metric could be the secret to building smarter networks for everyone.
It's pretty cutting-edge stuff, and the implications are huge.
Okay, so before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with the basics. What exactly is LTE-RSRP? I mean, I see those bars on my phone, but I'm guessing there's more to the story, right?
You're right, there is. Those bars are a very simplified representation of what's actually going on. LTE-RSRP, or Reference Signal Received Power, is basically a way for your phone to measure how much signal it's receiving from a cell tower at any given moment. It's like a direct line to the tower. And the stronger that signal, the better your connection should be.
So it's kind of like a measure of how much oomph the signal has.
Exactly. We measure it in dBm, decibel milliwatts, and the higher the dBm, the stronger the signal. And when we're talking about good signal strength, a higher RSRP means clearer calls, faster downloads, and smoother streaming.
It's amazing how much we rely on a strong signal for, well, everything these days.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is that even though RSRP is just one piece of the puzzle, it's a crucial one.
So are there other factors that can affect the quality of my connection, even if I have a strong RSRP?
Oh, absolutely. Latency, for example, which is the delay before a transfer of data begins following an instruction for its transfer, is a big one. And then there's network congestion, which is like having too many people trying to use the same internet highway at the same time. All those things can impact your overall experience, even if your RSRP is strong.
So it's like having a sports car, but being stuck in traffic.
That's a great analogy. You could have the fastest phone in the world, but if the network is bogged down, it's not going to matter much.
That makes total sense. So how much variation in RSRP can we see in a typical day? And what does that mean for my phone's performance?
Oh, you can see swings of 30 dBm or more, depending on where you are and what you're doing.
Wow, 30 dBm. That's a huge difference.
It is. And that kind of variation can be the difference between a perfect connection and a dropped call, or between streaming a movie in HD and watching that little spinning wheel of doom.
The spinning wheel of doom, we've all been there. So this research paper we're looking at today, it takes that raw RSRP data, which can fluctuate so dramatically, and breaks it down into categories.
You got it. They've classified it into 3 categories: good, fair, and poor. Kind of like a signal report card. Good, you're getting an A, everything's running smoothly. Fair, well, you're passing, but there might be a few hiccups along the way. And poor, well, you might want to start thinking about turning on airplane mode.
I love that analogy. It's like a signal grade for your phone. But what's the value of classifying the signal like this? What can we actually deal with that information?
That's where things get really interesting, and that's where AI enters the picture.
AI. Okay, now you've got my attention.
This research is exploring how to use something called federated learning to analyze and learn from all of that RSRP data. And get this, they are doing it without compromising your privacy.
Hold on. AI learning from my phone's data without compromising my privacy? How is that even possible? Federated learning. Okay, I'll be honest. The idea of AI poking around on my phone's data, even if it's just about my signal, makes me a little nervous.
I get it, trust me, privacy is huge. But that's actually the beauty of this whole federated learning thing.
Okay, so how does it actually work? Walk me through it.
So imagine this. Your phone's out in the world, right? And it's constantly experiencing all these different levels of signal strength, good, bad, all over the map.
Pretty much sums up my commute.
Exactly. So with federated learning, your phone actually becomes a little AI apprentice. It uses all that variation in signal, all those good, fair, and poor moments as training data.
So my phone is like learning from its own experiences. Kind of cool, actually.
It is. And it's building up its own little AI model to recognize patterns, to try and predict when the signal might change, become stronger or weaker.
But all of that learning, all of that data, it stays right there on my phone.
Exactly. It never gets shipped off to some big server in the cloud. And that's the key to keeping your personal data private.
Okay, so if my phone is hoarding all this valuable AI knowledge, how does that actually help improve the network for everyone else?
That's where the magic really happens. Well, your phone keeps all of your raw data, like the specifics of your location and all that jazz, private. It can share little snippets of what it's learned. Think of them like anonymous insights.
Anonymous insights. Okay, so like the AI equivalent of gossiping with the other phones, but only about signal strength.
Yeah, kind of, except it's more like sharing helpful tips. These anonymous insights get sent back to a central system. And that central system, it's like the grand central station of signal data.
Okay, I'm with you.
And it takes all of these little insights, these tiny pieces of learning from potentially millions of phones, and uses them to create a much smarter network overall.
So it's like the wisdom of the crowds, but for cell phone signals.
Exactly. And that's how we build a more efficient, more robust network, all without anyone ever having to hand over their personal data. Pretty cool, huh?
That is really cool. So how did the researchers test this whole federated learning thing out? Did it actually work in the real world?
They sure did. They actually ran a couple of fascinating experiments just to see how this would all play out in practice.
All right, let's hear it. What did they do?
So their first experiment was kind of like the ideal scenario, you know? They created this perfectly balanced network where every single phone had an equal chance of experiencing good, fair, and poor signal.
So kind of like a network utopia where everything's fair and balanced.
Exactly. Think of it like a laboratory setting where they can control every little variable. It was a way to test the pure learning capabilities of the AI without any real-world chaos.
Okay, so in this perfect little AI playground, how did it do?
It aced it. With that evenly distributed data, the AI learned incredibly quickly and could predict the signal class with, like, scary accuracy. But of course, the real world, well, it's a bit messier than that.
You're telling me. So what happened when they introduced a little bit of that real-world chaos into the mix?
So for their second experiment, they took it to the streets, so to speak. They simulated that messy reality of how we actually use our phones, you know?
Yeah, like me, constantly glued to my phone, walking and scrolling, probably missing everything around me.
Exactly. So they had some phones clustered in a busy downtown area, others scattered out in the suburbs, some in rural areas. You get the picture.
A recipe for signal chaos.
Right. All those phones experiencing vastly different signal patterns throughout the day. It's what we call a non-IAD distribution, which basically means the data is all over the place. No more perfect balance.
Sounds a lot more like my everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
So how did the AI handle that challenge? Did it crash and burn?
Well, it definitely had to work a little harder this time around, which makes sense. It took a bit longer for the AI to learn and adapt given all that unpredictable data. But, and here's the really amazing part, it still became really good at predicting signal class, even with all of that real-world complexity.
Wow, so even with all of the chaos of how we actually use our phones, constantly moving around different environments, the AI can still find those patterns and make accurate predictions about signal strength. That's impressive.
It is. And you know what this means. It has some really big, really exciting implications for how we experience connectivity in the future.
Okay, now you're just teasing us. What kind of implications are we talking about?
Imagine this. Your phone, armed with this AI-powered prediction engine, it could actually start to anticipate changes in signal strength before they even happen.
Wait, so it would know when I'm about to walk into a dead zone?
Potentially, yes. But it's not just about avoiding the dreaded dead zone. It could also proactively switch you to the strongest available signal in real time without you ever having to lift a finger.
So I'm walking down the street. My phone is seamlessly hopping between networks, always making sure I have the best possible connection, and I don't even have to think about it.
You got it. No more dropped calls, no more buffering videos, just a smooth, uninterrupted connection, all thanks to the power of AI working quietly in the background.
Okay, that sounds amazing. But I'm guessing this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? This is
Yeah.
just seriously cool stuff, but there's got to be more to the story, right? This can't be it.
Yeah.
What else are the researchers looking at?
Oh, you know it. They're definitely not stopping there. They're already exploring ways to make this whole AI-powered network optimization thing even more, well, more powerful.
Even more powerful. Okay, so what's next? What are they thinking?
One of the most interesting directions they're exploring is this idea of, get this, ensemble learning. I know it sounds kind of complicated.
Ensemble learning, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, many a little help with that one. It sounds like some kind of, I don't know, supervillain team up from a comic book.
Yeah. That's actually a pretty good analogy. Imagine this.
Yeah.
You have a whole team of AI models, right? And each one of them specializes in a different aspect of signal analysis.
So instead of one AI brain, we have a whole bunch of them.
Exactly. And here's the cool part. They actually work together, sharing their knowledge, their insights, to create a much more, I don't know how to say it, a more well-rounded prediction system.
So it's like a brain trust of AI,
Yeah.
but instead of solving crimes, they're like optimizing our internet connection.
You got it. It's like having a whole team of experts, each with their own unique perspective, all working together to make sure you have the best possible signal.
I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. All of this is happening behind the scenes, and we have no idea.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is the future of connectivity is going to be like super smart,
Yeah.
like scary smart.
Yeah. It is. It's going to be incredibly smart, incredibly responsive to our needs, always adapting, always learning. But, there's something else about this whole thing that I find really, I don't know, thought-provoking. It's not even something the researchers explicitly stated in the paper, but it's definitely there, lurking between the lines.
Okay, now you've got me really intrigued. What's the secret message hidden in the research?
It's this. What if, and this is where it gets really interesting, what if we could apply these same principles, these ideas of federated learning, of AI-powered optimization, to other parts of our digital lives?
Well, okay, I see where you're going with this. So, like, if our phones can learn to find the best signal, could they also learn to, I don't know, optimize our battery life based on how we use our phones?
Exactly. Or how about this? Your phone could predict when you're about to enter a dead zone and then proactively cache some of your music or videos for offline access.
No more, like, choppy podcasts on the subway. I could get on board with that. But it's not just limited to our phones. I mean, this could be huge.
It could. Imagine a world where, smart homes, self-driving cars, even entire cities are constantly learning, constantly adapting, all based on this collective data from our devices. And get this, all while still respecting our individual privacy.
That's the really key part, isn't it? We want a smarter world, but not at the expense of our privacy.
Exactly. And that's the true promise of this whole federated learning thing, It's this idea that we can have it both ways. We can have the benefits of AI, the personalization, the optimization, without having to sacrifice our privacy. It's a pretty amazing concept when you think about it.
It really is. So, as we wrap up here, I have to ask, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from our deep dive today? What's the big takeaway message?
That's a great question. I think the most important thing is this. The next time you look at those little bars on your phone, those little signal strength indicators, remember, they're not just some static measure of how good or bad your connection is. They're a window into this dynamic, this ever-evolving network that's becoming more intelligent, more personalized every single day. And it's all happening thanks to the power of AI and, the data we all generate just by using our phones.
I love that. It's a reminder that we're not just passive users of technology. We're active participants in its evolution. Every swipe, every click, every download, it's all contributing to this smarter, more connected future.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we'll sign off for today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those connections strong.